It's a marquee matchup tonight in Toronto as Kenta Maeda takes the ball under the Friday night lights and gets his first taste of a star-studded Blue Jays lineup. An interleague matchup north of the border next. On the north shore of Lake Ontario is the Rogers Center here in Toronto for the beginning of this three-game set between the Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays. They try to win 4 in a row for the first time this season. We say welcome inside with Oral and Nomar. I'm Joe Davis. Alana Rizzo joins us in just a moment. So this Blue Jays team is right at 500 right now. They were so good offensively last season. In fact, historically good, Nomar. And they've gone off to a bit of a slow start, but starting to heat up.
I mean, how good last year? They were #1 in runs scored. How about the next team behind them? They scored over 120 runs more than the next team behind them. That's how good. This year, a little bit slower on the offensive side. Last year, when they had double-digit runs scored, 10 or more in 30 games, their first 30 games, they did it 6 times. They had one just the other night, their last game. They scored 12 runs and 15 hits. So this offense is starting to come alive, especially some of those big bats out there. Edwin Encarnacion had 6 RBIs last night. They're looking for Joey Bats to start getting hot. We got the reigning MVP in Josh Donaldson on this team, and he's starting to swing the bat better. Our friend Russell Martin, he's starting to swing the bat better. The averages may not show it, but these guys, you got to be very, very careful because any one of them can hit it out of the ballpark at any time.
And so it is a tall task for the Dodgers starter, Kenta Maeda, who through 5 starts has been great for the Dodgers since coming over from Japan. And Oral, you're a pretty good guy to evaluate. What is it that has made him so good?
You know, I've watched him for these starts, and he went 25 in the 3rd innings, only gave up 1 earned run. His last start, he gives up 4 and 6. But right now with Kenta Maeda, I think the key to his success is his ability to get back into counts when he falls behind. If you look at his batting average after 1-0, after 2-1, after 3-1, you see a guy who still continues to get hitters out even when he falls behind. The breaking ball, the fastball, he can still make pitches to get back into counts. He doesn't use the middle of the plate.
Been so many questions about him coming in. Could he pitch in the United States? Could he beat the Giants? Could he pitch at Coors Field? He's answered all those questions emphatically yes. Now he gets a lineup that is as good as any in baseball, stacked with right-handed hitters. When we come back, it's the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, the opener of this 3-game set from Toronto. here at Rogers Center for the first time this season tomorrow when these teams play an afternoon game. But here, game one, it is closed. Dodgers and Blue Jays, first of three tonight, meeting for the first time since 2013 when the Dodgers came here to Rogers Center and swept Toronto as part of that great second half run. Dave Roberts' club comes in at 14-14, and here's the starting lineup that he sends out there. Chase Utley is back on top of it after having the last 6 days out of the starting lineup with the 2 off days and then the long run of left-handed pitching. He came off of the bench in the Tampa Bay series. Corey Seager is back up in the 2 spot. Turner, Gonzalez, and Puig 3, 4, and 5 with Yasmani Grandal doing the catching for Maeda, and Kendrick, Peterson, and Crawford down at the bottom third of this Dodger lineup. Marcus Stroman stands at just 5'8", 25 years old out of Medford, New York. He's making his 7th start, and his last one, Nomar, was his best. Gave up just 1 run on 3 hits over 8+, and struck out a career-high 9 against the Rays.
And even though he may not be that tall, he does have a big mound presence out there. Goes with a lot of energy out there when he pitches, and he utilizes 6 different pitches. He'll mix them up, and one of those pitches is a 4-seam fastball that he doesn't throw as much anymore, that can get to the mid-90s. He really relies on a sinker, gets a lot of ground balls, ranks 4th in the major leagues in ground ball percentage. He goes with a cutter, a slider, a changeup, will use all of the pitches in different counts and has confidence in it. The key for him is keeping it down in the zone.
You know, you watch his mannerisms out there on the mound. He looks like a reliever. The stuff is like a reliever, but he can maintain the energy and the animation, and he can maintain his stuff. The thing that I've noticed in his statistics, 8 of his 18 earned runs have been given up by the bullpen after he's left the game. So his ERA is kind of a deceiving ERA. He's much better than it sees.
And he'll get Chase Utley, first of 6 left-handed hitters that'll come up against him tonight. One of those is switch hitter and Grandal down in the 6th spot. Dodgers 14-14. Blue Jays 15-15. Marcus Stroman's first pitch of the day is in there for a strike, and off we go from Toronto.
Talked about the left-handers in this lineup. If you're wondering back home what the lefties are hitting off them this year, left-handed batters, 175 batting average versus Stroman.
Put the shift on the left-handed hitter, and he takes outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Utley hitting .286. And starting in the leadoff spot for the 20th time this year. He had only done it a dozen times over his first 13 big league seasons. Strike 2.
Chase up there, 20th time. 20 games in a row for us. So the big picture for the Dodgers right now is a lot of work ahead of them starting tonight.
Utley will get time. Dodgers had that off day yesterday after the 2-game series in Tampa Bay, where they won 10-5 on Tuesday and then dropped Wednesday's game 8-5. Stroman home with a 1-2, and Utley takes it in the dirt. Blue Jays have won 3 in a row. Back-to-back walk-off wins against Texas, and then a 12-2 beatdown last night. Trying to win 4 in a row for the first time this season now. 2-2. 1 gone. Well, Marcus Stroman strikes out Utley. Josh Donaldson to the hot corner for this Toronto defense, which has been one of the strengths over the last couple of years.
Well, there's the reigning MVP in Josh Donaldson. And not only does he do it on defense, he does it with the bat as well. We talked about Stroman on the hill with energy. Well, Josh Donaldson definitely provides energy as well. He shows a lot of animation on the field as well, a lot of emotion. And a lot of guys feed off that off this team.
Got a lot of personalities on this Blue Jays club. Seager looked at a strike, and now Corey swings at a strike, and it's 0-2.
Donaldson is a gym rat. He's a guy that he's talking baseball all the time. He says he goes home after the game and he continues to watch other games around the league, has it all TiVo'd and ready to go.
We were having a conversation with him during batting practice, and that's all he was talking about from baseball. Just talking about approaches, talking about pitchers. How the pitchers are different, maybe back then when we played.
He's seen every inning that Kenta Maeda has pitched over here. He was talking about.
Wow.
Yep. So he didn't just wait for the breakdown tape that's put together by their video coordinator. He's been watching every inning.
Ziegler can't lay off, and Stroman has back-to-back Ks to start the evening. Had 9 of them against Tampa Bay in his last start. That was a career high, as he held him to just 1 run over those 8 innings. Down at the Trop. Here's Justin Turner now.
I just mentioned earlier, left-handers 175 coming in today. Well, right-handers 208. So actually right-handers have done a little bit better versus Stroman.
Turner, one of only 3 in this lineup, scalds a single, back up the box and into center. There you go. Sometimes the numbers don't lie.
Stroman and Turner heard Nomar.
I think Turner did a good job there, recognizing after 2 strikeouts, you're thinking, oh, I don't want to get behind. Get ready to swing at the first one that's you think you can handle, and he takes it back up the middle. Good job by Turner.
We saw him really hit it on the barrel in those last couple at bats at Tampa Bay on Wednesday. After a bit of a slide for him. It's good to see Adrian Gonzalez get back on track in Tampa Bay as well after the 0 for 21 homestand. Adrian bounces one right into the shift with Barney out in short right field to throw him out. 2-out single against Stroman, but nothing to show for it. Kenta Maeda to the bump in a scoreless game where you come back. Center since 2013. We go to the bottom of the first and no score. Manager John Gibbons sends this lineup to the plate with Michael Saunders at the top of it after getting last night off. Then the big bangers 2 through 4. Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion all hit at least 39 homers a season ago. Smoke, Pilar, Martin, Goins, and Barney hitting 9th. Against Kenta Maeda, 28-year-old out of Japan, making his 6th start. Top 5 in the National League with that earned run average. They moved him around in the rotation with Alex Wood, flipping them so Wood would face the Rays and Maeda facing Toronto's right-handed heavy lineup. Dave Roberts thinking he was a much better matchup against Toronto. His first one to Saunders. Tails outside, ball 1.
The flip-flop in the rotation gave Kenta some time to get back into his old routine like it was in Japan, where he pitched once a week. So this is not something that's really hard for him to adjust. We talked about the adjustment when he came over with the Dodgers to get down to the 5-man rotation, only getting 4 days off. Well, here he gets the full rest that he's been used to most of his career.
Does it throw you off, Oro, after you get the rest and then you're going to have 20 games straight where now you're going back to the other routine?
I think he's going to have to not be a thrower tonight. He's going to feel extra strong with that extra rest. Probably got a little more side work in and was able to keep the routine going and the rhythm. But the key is when you come out here after all that rest, you feel so good, you just overthrow. And the movement can sometimes flatten out. The breaking ball can be a little up. You got to remember to pitch even though you feel strong.
3 of those 4 runs he gave up, you saw there in his last outing, came in the 7th after his really good over the first 6 innings. Then he gets Saunders swinging to start this outing. That was his first loss on Thursday against Miami. 4 runs allowed on 7 hits over 6 2/3 overall.
Little slider right there where the bottom just dropped out of it.
Pitching in a dome, Oral, do you feel like the ball was true as far as the break was concerned as compared to, like, being in Colorado or places like Arizona?
The acoustics are weird when you throw the ball and wait for it to hit the glove, and that kind of stuff can kind of make you feel awkward, but the ball travels in this dome. That's the scariest part about this for pitching. I mean, you can give up weaker fly balls and still give up home runs.
The MVP Josh Donaldson up for the first time tonight. Tied for the American League lead with 9 home runs. Tied with Jose Altuve. It's an unlikely guy to be at the top of the home run leaderboard. He's already got 9 of them. Altuve's career high is 15. Maeda to Donaldson with a 2-0. Up and in, missing badly. 3 balls and no strikes.
And I see this pitch up and in. Josh Donaldson, we were talking about how we were talking before the game, and he talked about pitches sometimes coming up and in. And how pitcher sometimes when he's swinging well, trying to move his feet, get him off the plate.
4-pitch walk from Maeda after he strikes out Saunders. And now he gets Jose Bautista. One of the pieces of this Blue Jays lineup off to a slow start over this first month. Lineup that was #1 in the game last year. 16th in baseball in runs per game this year. Donaldson took off on strike 1 and he's in there easily. It's maybe a product of having watched every inning that Maeda's thrown so far in the States, like he told you guys.
Donaldson did not even stop. Maeda never even checked him, and you see he gets a walking lead and continues on. Not a guy really known for the stolen base, but you can see there's a lot of movement right there as he is creeping out there. He never had to plant his feet and stop.
So 1-out man in scoring position for Bautista, who despite the slow start with the average is still knocked in 20. 0-2.
That's the thing about this Toronto offense. Looking at it overall, they might be thinking they're slumping and they're 11th in the league in average, but they're 3rd in runs. They're 1st in walks. And home runs, they're 4th. They haven't even got on track yet.
I think the runs thing skewed a little bit as far as total runs because they've played more games than anybody. And you see their runs per game 16th in the bottom half of the majors. Bautista's hit more home runs than any player in baseball over the last 6 years. Been an all-star all 6 of those seasons. Finished in the top 8 of the MVP voting 4 different times. That's after 6 seasons to begin his career where he was a below league average hitter. Only averaged about 10 homers per season. Two and two.
Then he had that breakout season. It was 2010 where he hit 54. He's really found a home here in Toronto.
Got here in 09 and right away started overhauling his swing. Added a leg kick. Tweaked it to begin his swing a little bit earlier. Engage his hips more. It took him about a year for it to click. He waits on this 2-2 and fouls it back.
said when he made that change, one of the other big things was he always swung defensive. He felt like when he was just like, oh, I just got to put it in play, or I'm thinking about, you know, maybe staying on the ball and just driving it the other way, rather than just, he had one of the coaches, well, why don't you just let it fly? Why don't you go out there and just don't worry about hitting defensive, but be aggressive and see how far you can hit it. And that's where he's showing the world how far he can hit it.
Cracked in the air to left. Out goes Seager. On the line, he's got it. And back to second goes Donaldson. Bautista clearly letting you know he's not happy about that. Pop up to short left center and 2 away.
You hear that disgust from a hitter and you just smile if you're on the mound and hear it. You know you got away with one.
So 2 gone, and here's Encarnacion, who started to heat up lately. He's homered in back-to-back games. And his 24 runs knocked in this year places him second in the American League behind Robinson Cano. So you go from Bautista, who has led the majors in home runs over the last 6 seasons, to Encarnacion, who's number 2 in homers and in RBIs over the last 4 years.
And that's probably why Yasmani went out there to talk to Kenta Maeda. Said, okay, we have a base open. Let's be smart here.
Left over the plate, ripped to third and caught by Turner. Justin Turner saves a run with a sprawling play back of third. And this game remains scoreless as we go to the second in Toronto. Scoreless.
Let's take a look at our Carl's Cam replay. Right off the bat, you see him lean a little bit to his left to plant that leg so that he could dive and get that outstretched glove right on it.
And Yasiel Puig checks on Goins at short. 1 pitch, 1 out for Marcus Stroman here in the second. Goins in there for Troy Tulowitzki, who is a normal shortstop here in Toronto, but has struggled mightily, hitting a .163 and getting kind of a mental breather today. There's Yasmani Grandal. 1 for 4 down in Tampa Bay. Had the first game of that series off. Added an RBI single on Wednesday.
Well, it's also good to see Yasmani in there. Remember the last game where he was taking a beating behind home plate. He also had a ball that was fouled off his wrist too that Caught a little bit of the glove and a little bit of his hand, so looks like that is okay.
Wonder how Kirk Casale's doing today.
Yeah, him too. Wonder if he's in there. Wonder if they called each other. Like, you playing? Because I'm in there.
Rays catcher took a beating Wednesday night as well as Stroman blows it by Grandal for his second out and his third K of these first 2 innings. Marcus Stroman, who is 20-6 in his 33 career games. He's not lost a game since September of 2014. Howie Kendrick fouls it off. Now, it's a little bit misleading for Stroman because he made only 4 starts last year. Tore his ACL during spring training. It was reported then that he'd missed the year, and you'd figured that he would. But he was a monster during rehab. Came back in September, 6 months after the ACL surgery. Made those 4 regular season starts down the stretch and started 3 times in the postseason as well for the Blue Jays. Big bouncer, tough play at third. Donaldson throws it away. And Kendrick has to get back to the bag with a carom right to Darwin Barney.
Yeah, the reason Howie had to get back to the bag and hustle back, because when he looked at the overthrow, he actually made a gesture towards second base as if he was maybe thinking about going there. So once you make that gesture, you better get back, because they have the ability to tag you out. Looked like for a second there, Josh Donaldson didn't know if he was going to backhand or come up with it with the forehand.
He's rolled a base hit for Howie. Second one of the day for the Dodgers. And it keeps his second inning alive for Jock Peterson, who swings away and belts it foul. Hit his 4th home run of the season in Tampa. Laser shot off of the batter's eye in center. And quietly has reached in 14 of his last 15 contests. Martin sets away. Stroman pops the mitt but misses. 1-1. Stroman just turned 25 on Sunday. He delivers 1-1. Left it up there. Peterson took it. Falls behind 1-2.
We've seen a lot of different breaking balls from Stroman already early in this game, and they have different breaks. He has a curveball that seems to break more. I mean, as a hitter, you're seeing the spin, but then you're going, okay, is that this? What kind of spin is that? That's the curveball, the cutter, the slider. There's a perfect example. That one broke a lot more than the pitch before.
And it's the 4th K from Marcus Stroman through 2 scoreless innings in Toronto. The Harbor. Lana Rizzo will tell you a little more in a bit about some guys that went out there deep into the harbor and into Lake Ontario during the off day. We are inside Rogers Center, just off in the distance there. The series opener in this 3-game set. Dodgers and Blue Jays, and Kenta Maeda to Justin Smoak. Ball 1. Did you guys enjoy your off day?
Sure did. It was a lovely day.
Good one. A good town to have it in.
Yes.
That was great. Dana and I walked around down by the harbor there and found a little pub that overlooked the water.
Question is, what time did you get up? After getting in at 5 o'clock in the morning.
It wasn't a day to really get up. You know, it was a day that the pub didn't open till like noon or 1. So.
Right.
You know,
well played.
Where we were going, they weren't open, so we might as well sleep in.
Might as well, regardless of what time you pulled in. Inside on Smoak, 2-1. Justin Smoak is in a more significant role right now with a suspension of Chris Colabello for 80 games, testing positive for the banned substance. And Smoak has put together a memorable week. Had a 2-home-run game earlier. That was a game where he hit a home run to tie it in the 9th inning against Texas. They were down 1-1. And then 1 inning later smashed a 2-run shot to win it. Those are his only 2 home runs of the season, and they came on the same day. Leading off this second against Maeda. And running the count full.
Be an important pitch for Kenta today. The fastball into both righties and lefties. When you're facing a powerful team that loves to extend their arms, you have to establish that inner half, and he's going to have to throw some strikes in there so that he just doesn't get eliminated with that pitch. We talked about that with Josh Donaldson before the game, about pitchers that are scared to reestablish that they will come and establish that they will come inside, how much easier it is to hit them.
Yeah. Kind of more just sometimes they go in there just for show so they can try to expand the plate. And if you have an aggressive team that's hitting, they recognize that and they're like, that's fine. I know you're going to go away from me.
Well, they just spit on the one inside if you can't throw it in there for strikes.
All right, a second walk. This one leads off the second inning. Head to the Dodger game Saturday, May 14th. Dodgers and Cardinals. And the first 40,000 fans get a replica Dodger Stadium courtesy of Farmer John. For tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. So now Kevin Pillar, who has really started to heat up for the Blue Jays. Southern California native. Started the season hitting leadoff for Toronto. They hit below 200 2 weeks doing so they dropped him in the order, and he's hit about 400 since.
Sometimes getting dropped down in the order just changes your mindset. And oftentimes it's not just, everybody thinks like, well, it's the pressure. You're down in the, there, and it is a different mindset as compared to being maybe in the leadoff spot. We even heard Dave Roberts talk about that with Yasiel Puig when he tried Yasiel in the leadoff spot. But I always say, too, sometimes when you're down there to try to get you out of maybe a slump that you're in, it's also the less at-bats that you possibly get. So even those times you get 1 for 3, you get a base hit, maybe you're 1 for 3 as compared to a 1 for 4 at the leadoff, or sometimes you're 1 for 5 batting at the leadoff spot. Maybe you're working a walk in the bottom of the lineup. So it just lets you go home with a positive attitude.
Maeda going away, and he chases it for strike 3. He is a free swinger. Another reason why there were some heads that turned when they decided that they would hit him leadoff to start the year. Second K for Maeda, first out of the second inning. And it brings up the old Dodger, Russell Martin. Debut with the Dodgers in '06, played there through 2010. And now in his second season back in his hometown. Signed a 2 or a 5-year deal prior to last season. The Dodgers to the Yankees to the Pirates and now the Blue Jays. 2-0.
Russell is a natural leader. You want your catchers back there to work really well with your pitching staff, but he's a leader. He's got great energy. He's got great focus, understands the game.
Another one of the Blue Jays that starting to show signs of coming out of the early season slump. He had 9 hits in his first 27 games total. That's a hit every 3 games. He's got 5 hits over the last 3. It includes a game-winning single the other night. It's part of the back-to-back walk-off wins for Toronto against Texas. 2-2.
Well, their manager, Jay Gibbons, when asked about the offense, he said, well, it's a matter of time before they break out of it, out of their slump collectively. And, you know, they saw that yesterday when they played Texas Rangers and scored 12 runs. And he said, I know it. Know it's there. So these guys are veterans, so they know it's there. It's just a matter of time.
2 gone on back-to-back strikeouts for Maeda.
The thing about that strikeout, that count started 2-0. He came back into the count with a 2-0 curveball, and then another breaking ball, and then this third slider right there low and away. And like we mentioned in the open, Kenta Maeda can get back into counts, and that's why he's been so successful so far this year.
Dave Roberts talked about his pulse. So that's been the most impressive thing to him over his first 5 starts. It's always so steady, never too up, never too down. Here's Ryan Goins, the 8-hitter. And a pop-up off of the handle. In center, Peterson called off by the left fielder Crawford, who puts it away to retire this side. Despite the leadoff walk, no damage done, no score through 2. Between the Dodgers and Blue Jays, Nomar Garciaparra, Orel Hershiser, Alana Rizzo, Joe Davis at the Rogers Center. Well, Marcus Stroman gets ready to face 9-1-2 in the Dodger order. Carl Crawford making his first start in a little less than a week. Attacks the first one, bounces it over third, and no play for Goins. That's an infield single for Crawford to lead off the 3rd inning.
Actually a very smart play by Goins. You got to know who's also running at home plate. It was a high chopper, and instead of just trying to force the play, just hold on to it in case you make a bad throw. As you know, Carl Crawford maybe getting up there in age, but he still has some wheels.
First hit of the road trip for him. And now Chase Utley Second time through the order for the Dodgers. First time through, 6 of the 9 hitters went after the first Stroman pitch. Utley takes ball 1.
You see the Dodger hitters just taking Stroman's sinker and just pounding it into the turf. The ball has so much depth on it. He's throwing the ball really well, even though the Dodgers now have 3 hits. They're just topping it.
Runner takes off, throw down to second. Crawford is out. Now, only the Mets have stolen fewer bases than the Dodgers in the National League this year. And Crawford gunned down for the first out.
And Russell Martin gets a quick throw down to second and on the money. It's also got that fat. It was almost like a cutter. It was a cutter, so it was a good speed. It wasn't like his big breaking ball that you've seen down in the dirt. If it was one of that, Carl would have had that easy. It was just a really good throw by Russell Martin.
So the base is empty now with 1 out for Utley, and here's a 1-1. Bunts through it with a shift on 1-2. Seeing more and more guys doing that with the overshift on as left-handed hitters.
I think it's smart. Great idea. And sometimes you don't always have to be successful. Sometimes you just got to show it. And it starts when other teams are watching. There's going to be notes taken.
There's that big breaking ball for the 5th Stroman K.
Stroman, he'll throw all sorts of different breaking balls we were talking about. He spins it. See that into the left-hander and the right-hander. He's not afraid. We talked about coming in with Kenta Maeda pitching inside. He'll throw a front door cutter and get a lot of right-handers to freeze.
Corey Seager fouls it off. Strike 1. Got to be tough when a guy's got that many pitches you've got to respect, and it's not like they're pitches that he just shows. They're swing and miss pitches.
It is not normal for a power pitcher to be able to spin the ball this well in different directions and have the subtleties of the big slider, the short slider, the cutter, and the curveball. Usually it's the 2-pitch pitcher when a guy throws with this much velocity. When he's 92, 93, usually just 2 top pitches, but got 4, 5 top pitches.
And a good rhythm now. Especially that cutter and that 2-seam, Nomar. It's got to be tough.
Yeah, because they're going 2 different directions. And everything's, I mean, when you talk about tough as a hitter, you're going, okay, everything's going to move. Nothing's going to be straight. So now you're trying to figure out, can I cut the strike zone? A lot of times when guys who have really good sinkers, they're like, okay, get them up in the zone. So maybe I'll lay off the ones down. But he's also hitting a strike down there as well. So now you're like, okay, now I have to swing at it.
And Seager with a nice at-bat earns the first walk of the day against Stroman. I was talking to Turner Ward, Dodgers hitting coach, about Stroman, a guy who has really 5 legit pitches, and he said what you've got to do basically is eliminate, like you said, parts of the plate or 1 or 2 of those breaking pitches. And by what he means by eliminating is just not swinging it.
Yeah. And then a good pitcher recognizes that if you eliminate that part of the plate, then they'll be able to spin it and start off where you are looking at, so it breaks away from where you're looking.
Justin Turner had a solid single against him his first time. Martin gets crossed up, and Seager, for some reason, stays anchored to first.
I don't know why Seager was still on first base. It didn't look like he saw it at first, but even after not seeing it, then you can see this, and he still might have had time to still go, because it really rolled far away from Russell Martin. Tough break there for the Dodgers, because they might have had opportunity with one of your RBI guys up at the plate with a runner in scoring position.
He was starting to swing it well. Turner swings and misses. 0-2. Hits in 3 consecutive at-bats for Justin after the 1-for-16 slide. Couple of singles and a double going back to Wednesday night at the Trop. Stroman to Turner with a 1-2, and he got him. 2 strikeouts in all 3 innings so far for Marcus Stroman. No score. Facts tonight. Kershaw, Maeda have given the Dodgers a great 1-2 punch. Everybody else has been hit or miss at this point. Kazmir had the great start to begin the season. Has been fairly effective at times since. But overall, the numbers not great. Alex Wood has been good at home, but not on the road. And Ross Stripling lately has not been as good as when he began. But the point is, Kenta Maeda has helped give the Dodgers a 1-2 punch, even with Zach Greinke. And Arizona now 0-2 on Darwin Barney.
Kenta, throughout the early part of this year, has really been good the first 5 innings. The batting average against below 200 in every inning. It's after the 5th, when he tires a little bit, that all of a sudden it gets up there above 300.
Talk about having a little more energy coming into the game because he had the week off as opposed to the 4 days off. Does it help you deeper in the game as well, have a little more energy?
It should help him deeper in the game and be a little crisper, having that little bit of extra endurance, a little more in the tank.
Opposite field liner that's fair. Kicks to Puig. Barney on his way to second. Puig's throw is on the money, and he got him again. Yasiel Puig with another cannon.
Unbelievable.
The strength of the throw is not the big deal.
No, it's the accuracy.
It's off the charts.
It's incredible. I mean, that ball bounced off just the small wall. Look where it bounces off. This is what benefits Yasiel. It bounces off right there, and then to be able to get that much in position, I thought Darwin Barney had this easy. And look, it was perfect. You can't throw one more perfect than that. Corey just caught. He slid right into it.
That's the only place the throw could be for to get him out.
Any other way.
It's the only place. If that ball is knee high, the speed of the tag will not get down quick enough.
That ball's thrown about 250 feet, and Corey Seager at short didn't move his glove. That's his 4th outfield assist of the season, tying him with Starling Marte and Ryan Braun for the National League lead.
There's a commercial here in town for the Blue Jays on TV that has a catcher catching the ball right in the strike zone, and a radar gun goes up at 95, which is right next to the catcher. And the scout, dressed as a scout, standing next to the catcher, goes, "Do you think he's going to throw this well all year? And he's got this much command and velocity." He goes, oh yeah, it really does." And then all of a sudden, it's a shot to right field. It's Batista throwing the ball right down the middle at 95 to 96, 98. We got one of those in our right field.
I mean, we have a good view up here in the booth of the whole field because we're so high up here at Rogers Center. And when that ball was hit, the angle and Darwin Barney, the way he was running, I was like, okay, there is no chance. But when it kicked, and I said, uh-oh, it was perfect. That was unbelievable by Yasiel Puig.
And he's doing it to guys that run well. Barney's got good speed. He did it to Trevor Story, who can really move.
He's going to have a highlight throw to every bag here in probably the next 2-3 weeks to give him.
Yeah.
The 1 to 3rd was unbelievable.
How long before he got somebody at
second,
first?
and he's going to get somebody back door at first.
Or front door.
Yep, from the right center gap probably. and he's probably, he's going to get somebody at home. He's going to have the most opportunity there. But the only thing that cuts him down there is third base coaches hold everybody up.
Yeah, the third base coaches know, and they're going. It's going to be one with 2 outs, where the third base coach is like, well, we got to take a chance. There's 2 outs. I'm sending you. Hope you make it. And he's going to be out.
I mean, that throw amazes big leaguers too. Barney will be talking about that all game. He's a very gregarious.
Saunders pops one into foul ground at third for Justin Turner, and the second out. So you mentioned, Nomar, the reputation that you start to develop, and he's been developing that reputation for 3 years now. But that alone saves you some runs.
Absolutely, because it's the third base coach is going to hold up so many because it's hit to Yasiel Puig. They're like, it's not worth. I'm not giving up an out. You're in scoring position. Let's just hold on to it. And then you'll start seeing those outfield assists on him start going down. Those numbers over the years. Sometimes you see guys who have a lot of outfield assists, like, wow, that's incredible. Well, sometimes it's because they don't have necessarily the best arm, because they get challenged more compared to those that have great arms that Yasiel Puig has, and they're like, well, don't challenge him because he's throwing everybody out.
Yeah.
You saw like Ichiro Suzuki, his numbers started to diminish over his career because nobody was challenging him.
And you say, well, then why did Barney challenge him? Barney challenged him because there was no way in the world he was going to throw him out.
When that ball was first hit, it didn't look like it kicked off the wall back to Yasiel. It looked like it was going to go all the way to the right field wall. If it didn't hit where it jets out, Yasiel has no chance. So when you're as a runner and you're going and you see that and he hit first, he just decided, okay, Yasiel's not there. He didn't see the ball kick back to him to have a chance to throw, so he's going, I should have this. And then he knew it was coming and had to slide in head first. He's still thinking about it.
Here's the 2-1 to Donaldson, and a breaking ball pulled to short, deep in the hole. Seager scooped out by Gonzalez, and fantastic defense from the Dodgers in this 3rd inning. Barney with the first base hit of the day for the Blue Jays, but Puig made sure that he couldn't stay on board. His 4th outfield assist of the season, right on a dime. No.
run on Yasiel Puig. Fun on the field and certainly fun off of the field. And when there are only 3 off days in the month of May, you better believe that these guys are going to take full advantage of them. Yasiel Puig and Adrian Gonzalez fishing in Lake Ontario for salmon. Then he decided to go on the CN Tower. There's his interpreter, Jesus. No way in the world can you pay me enough money to do that. Yasiel Puig hanging out. Charlie Culberson getting in on the fun as well as bench coach Bob Guerin doing that. And then they all went to the Raptors and Miami Heat game last night. Great city to have a fun time off, guys.
Yeah, perfect city to have that off day after the late arrival coming in from Tampa Bay. Team got in at about 5 a.m. yesterday morning. Adrian Gonzalez fouls it off 1-1. Gonzo and Puig and the fishing group took off right after the team got to the hotel, and then I guess they slept later in the day.
I'm wondering, I'm trying to figure out, Yasiel, okay, he went fishing, didn't sleep, went fishing. Then what time did they go to the CN Tower?
That was today, but the game last night.
Got it, and then go to the game. So he got some rest.
Alana, you've got a little more?
Well, Bob Guerin, who also went to the CN Tower, also went to a Formula One racetrack and was also able to race a Porsche. A lot of different activities going on. I know all of us had a great dinner last night. This is a perfect city to have an off day. And Yasiel Puig, out of the 25 men on this roster, he's the one guy that will absolutely take advantage of the fact that he will go sightseeing and everything that a place has to offer. Jock Peterson was supposed to go fishing until we landed at 5. He chose not to go instead, guys. He wanted to get his beauty sleep. He said a cranky jock is not a good jock.
No, cranky, nobody's good. Suddenly your trip to the pub doesn't sound so great, Oral.
It was still nice.
Still good?
Yeah.
A little more relaxing.
And you weren't cranky, so because you got some rest.
My wife gets seasick, so she wouldn't like the fishing part.
Bounced to second. Barney will throw Gonzalez
I don't think
out.
there's any way that Dana would have hung off the needle.
Would you?
I would. I would definitely do it.
No, Mark?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, me too.
But where our press box is here tonight, guys, this is pretty close.
Well, here, let me hang you up.
Halfway.
Here, let me hold you. I'll hold your shirt. Here you go.
Especially where we do our open stand-up. The barrier between us and a long, lonely fall is about knee-high.
Yep.
We gladly obliged when they said come a little closer to the camera. Gladly. Puig takes ball 1.
Second highest press box I've ever been in. One in Washington.
What about Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh pretty high.
Really high. The CN Tower there. Dave Roberts said before the game today that they did some math, and that if you threw the ball 50 miles per hour, you could make it on top of Rogers Center from the CN Tower. I don't know how they did that math. He said Bob Guerin was the one that led the charge. And figuring out that equation. Stroman to Puig with a 2-0. That's a strike. It's a little low. 3-1. Check in again with Alana.
About the fact that you could throw it from the CN Tower 50 miles per hour. Dave Roberts said that it would hit the infield here at Rogers Center, and somebody said, well, what if Puig threw it? He said, well, it probably wouldn't hit the cutoff man.
That's awesome. He swings at ball 4, 3-2.
Well, I'll tell you what, his last throw to second base was a little bit harder than 50 miles an hour. Yeah. And that would have. He probably from the CN Tower can probably throw it on the money at second base.
Straight it Goins. Couple of ground ball outs, 2 away. Looking forward to getting the StatCast data on that throw, what the miles per hour was, what the distance was.
Trying to think of the distance and then carrying the 1.
So what do you think, 250?
That throw to second base.
This was 328 from the corner.
328 to home plate, though. It's 180. And
maybe 2.
Yeah.
Maybe just under 2.
There's Grandal. 2 up and 2 down in his 4th inning for Stroman. He breaks one off low, ball 1. Grandal struck out his first time. That's one of 6 Ks for Stroman so far. This will be the first inning of the game where Stroman hasn't punched out 2. Is 1-0.
Well, Stroman so far has been very, very good. Is he going second time through the lineup? See if he's still out there for the 3rd time and see if the Dodgers are going to be able to make that adjustment. Right now, he's keeping a lot of them off balance and not a whole lot of square ups, but that one was right there. Good exit velocity on that one, just bad aim.
Right at Ryan Goins. Grandal lines out and completes a 1-2-3 inning. First of the day for Stroman. Still no score. Is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. Three, 4, and 5 coming out for the Blue Jays here in the 4th inning against Kenta Maeda, who has walked to him, allowed 1 base hit. The hit was a single for Barney, who was thrown out by Puig, trying to stretch it into a double. Ball 1 to Bautista, who popped out to short his first time and is now 1 for his last 19. Big breaking ball for strike 1. Bautista, one of the pieces, one of the key pieces of this Blue Jays lineup. They're hoping can get going to recapture the form of last season. Flips one down the right field line, peeling into foul ground and away from Puig for strike 2. You mentioned it off of the top, Nomar. 127 runs more than the next closest team last year. The last 2 teams to lead the majors by that large of a margin, the Big Red Machine, 1976 Cincinnati Reds, and the 1931 New York Yankees, with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig both driving in more than 160 runs that year.
I mean, they led in like offensive categories, runners in scoring position, batting average, runners in scoring positions, the runs, home runs. They had so many guys getting on base. It was quite an offensive year, just up and down the lineup.
It's got to be when you're doing something like what Gehrig and Ruth do.
Yeah. Gehrig, that 1931 season, drove in 184 runs.
Wow.
Second most all time. Hack Wilson, 1 year prior, drove in 191 for the Cubs. That's the major league record. Cover your ears. Bautista's popping out. Did so last time and filled up the microphone with words that we can't repeat. Gonzalez catches it one way.
At least here, when you hit the high pop up, there's no rings to hit him.
Yeah, right.
Tampa Bay.
Not an A ring, a B ring, a C ring, a D ring.
Nope.
Isn't it amazing that, you know, both parks, the Trop and here at Rogers Center, they're considered in the same family, being indoor parks, and they feel just completely different.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one has energy.
Yeah. People.
And it can open.
And it may tomorrow.
You may have it open.
People.
Yeah, they don't draw real well down there at St. Pete. We don't need to pile on. 14,000 and then 13,000 were the attendance in the 2 games the Dodgers were in town. The Dodgers are always right up at the top of baseball as far as visiting attendance.
Both places though have a lot of Canadians.
There are a lot that travel down there to the Tampa area.
Oh, they live there. The snowbirds.
Yeah.
Or they've moved there permanently.
Here's an 0-2 to Encarnacion. Tell you what, they love their Blue Jays here. There was a time where it was hockey was 1A, 1B, 1C, and so on. It still is number 1. Everybody would admit that. This town has again fallen in love with the Blue Jays. Upstairs 2-2 on Encarnacion. It was part of ending that 22-year postseason drought last year. And the back-to-back World Series titles in '92 and '93. And then last year made a trip to the American League Championship Series, where they were knocked out by the Royals. Hard hit right at Turner. They were 93 and 69 last year, where the Blue Jays won the East Division title. It was their first division title, first playoff trip period since those back-to-back World Series titles in '92 and '93. A couple of deadline deals. David Price, Troy Tulowitzki. Tulowitzki was not very good for them after they acquired him. He had that shoulder injury that shelved him for a period of time. An amazing win in Game 5 of the American League Division Series against the Rangers, with one of the craziest single innings in baseball history, capped off by that picture you saw of Jose Bautista's home run with the epic bat flip. Strike one to Justin Smoak.
Is that a bat flip?
It should have been its own category, huh?
If you look up bat flip in the dictionary, there's a picture of that.
Yeah. 0-2 on Smoak. And then it's forgotten what happened in the top of that inning. And the Rangers got a run to take the lead. Rougned Odor scored. When Russell Martin's throw back to the mound hit Shin-Soo Choo's bat, he was in the batter's box, deflected back into foul ground and allowed the go-ahead run to score. They would soon tie it and then retake the lead on the Bautista home run. Maeda looking for his first perfect frame of the night. Right through the meat of this Toronto order. Got Bautista. Got Encarnacion. Smoak lifts it in the air to left. Crawford a long run. And he's got room. First 1-2-3 inning of the day for Maeda. We go to the 5th inning in this series opener. Still looking for the first run. Taste the Jack in the Box. Taste the Baconlicious Sourdough Bacon Ranch Combo only at Jack in the Box. Bottom third of the Dodger order coming up against Marcus Stroman in a scoreless game. First time these teams have met up since 2013. Kendrick, Peterson, and Crawford. Howie had an infield single his first time. Dodgers have 3 hits against Stroman. Only one of them has left the infield. Came from Justin Turner. Strike one.
Stroman has had the two-seam fastball working with all the other pitches that he has. Kind of the opposite of Kenta Maeda tonight. His fastball command a little down.
Barney position well, and the Blue Jays seem to have that be a theme so far tonight. A lot of solidly hit balls, but right at Blue Jay defenders.
Ground ball machine, and Darwin Barney can scoop them.
It's a Dodger for a short period of time. There's Jock Peterson. Six Ks for Stroman. One of them was against Jock back in the second. And there's the strike. One and two.
When you look at Stroman, everything he releases out of the same arm slot as well. So you got different spin, different movement. You know, that one right there, you see that one, bro? That looked like the exact same pitch that Jock took for a strike that went straight. Or it seemed to have gone straight.
Exactly.
So as a hitter, sometimes you recognize the spin out of his hand. And you're like, all right, well, that was the one that didn't break much, so it's not going to break, and then all of a sudden it does.
That one did, and Jock took it to run the count full. A two-seamer of his is relatively new. He started throwing in 2014, his first full season in the majors. Discovered the grip, just kind of toying around with the ball while he was sitting on the couch back in his apartment. Found an unorthodox grip that is different from your traditional two-seam fastball. Gets Peterson here for his 7th K of the night. 2 gone in the 5th. Do you know a standout high school senior athlete? Then nominate him for a chance to be named the Time Warner Cable Sports Championship Drive Scholar Athlete and receive a $2,500 college scholarship. Go to TWCSChamp.com now for more information. Stroman to Carl Crawford. Bounces one in there. He said the implementation of that two-seam fastball, though, is what really turned things around for him. And that's saying something because he was a first-round pick to begin with before he even developed the two-seam.
He found the value of movement over velocity, and he didn't lose that much velocity. Maybe 3-4 mile an hour difference between a four-seamer and a two-seamer. You don't have the laces cutting through the air and making the air slightly more turbulent in front so that the ball travels straighter and faster. With a two-seamer, a lot more cowhide pushing up against the ball and making it drop like that.
Well, you and I always say, Oral, you always ask me, what would you rather hit? No more 97 straight or 92 with movement? I said 97 straight.
Exactly.
Chopper to second. 1, 2, 3 go the Dodgers for the second consecutive inning. Halfway home in Toronto, no score. against this Blue Jays offense. It exploded for a season-high 12 runs last night against Texas. Pilar, Martin, and Goins here in the 5th. Pilar struck out his first time, and that snapped a string of 31 consecutive at-bats without a K. He's a free swinger, but has the highest contact rate in baseball. Am I doing a good job of jinxing him?
Keep it up.
There you go. Doesn't miss anything. Just
swing and a miss. Generous outside edge there, 1-2.
Same location where Kenta struck him out in the last at bat with a slider low and away like that, trying to walk him off the plate again, but this one happens to hit the edge of the plate. That's the pitch that Kenta hasn't had tonight, that two-seamer command in and away from righties. He's really almost had to pitch backwards tonight, using the breaking balls more to get strikes and the fastballs just to show.
Shot to second, Chase Utley. And still, well, the mark of a great pitcher is the ability on a night like this where he doesn't have all of his best stuff to be effective.
Yeah, he knows what's working. He and Yasmani have worked really well at getting to the pitches that are effective at the time. And you go through different places in your game that, oh, I feel good with my slider, and you're communicating that with your catcher. Hey, I'm starting to feel the changeup. We can use that. But the fastball is still kind of a show-me pitch right now.
Also Martin rocking the mustache, taking ball 1. Shaved off the rest of his beard earlier this week, trying to change things up with a slow start. Shaved the beard after he struck out 9 consecutive plate appearances. It's 1 shy of the major league record.
That sounds like shave the head material too. Strike out 9.
Why leave the mustache?
Yeah, just take the whole thing.
different uniform, different batting gloves, cleats. You either burn it all or you take it in the shower with your full uniform and wash it.
Yep.
It's like the Anthony Rizzo commercial where he's watching the MLB app, and have you seen that? He's in the shower, you know, scrubbing himself clean and watching the app on his phone, and he's got his full uniform on. Yeah. Maeda dealing 1-2. Martin fouls it off. Kenta's only faced 2 more than the minimum at this point. He's walked 2. The only base hit for Toronto is a single for Barney, where he was gunned out trying to turn it into a double by Puig. Since then, 6 straight retired. Make it 7 with his 4th strikeout of the night.
Well, he may not have the command maybe in the corner with the fastball, but he sure had it up in the zone. That's exactly where Yasmani wanted it. It was a perfect pitch to get the swing and a miss.
Martin goes and finds a razor and finishes the job with the mustache. We're back-to-back Ks tonight. Going 0 for 1. And now 0 for his last 14. With a fly out to left his first time. Going splitting time in the infield. Some days here and there. Darwin Barney at second. Ultimately, though, that's Devin Travis's spot. Travis out with a shoulder injury, back sometime in June, they think. Right now, they could use his offense at second base. Maeda delivering 2-0, and Goins taking ball 3.
A dirty uniform represents Yasiel's victim.
4-pitch walk for Goins. With a 2-out base runner against Maeda, who will now face Barney. And that base hit to the opposite field, the only hit against Maeda. And you mentioned it, Earl, that dirt on the uniform is a result of having to dive in, a Superman dive at second to no avail. Puig's 4th outfield assist of the season.
Oh, we have to have a look at it once again. Yasiel getting that ball. We've seen it before.
Superman dive.
But you'll see this over and over again on highlight reels. We've talked about the one he threw out to third base in Colorado. That one as well, you're going to see over and over. They're just going to make a package just with all the throws from Yasiel for this year.
Yasiel throw mixtape.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did it right when he debuted against San Diego back in 2013 to end the game on a double play. Caught a ball at the warning track, twirled around, and fired back behind a runner at first to finish a game.
They're probably going to have to send out to the fans, the Dodger fans, like pick your favorite Yasiel throw and have a, have them rate them. See which one comes out on top.
Pick your favorite, Nomar. What's yours?
Right now is the one from Colorado.
Yeah.
And although that one was, that one was really close because how perfect that was. Like there was no other place it could be. Well, actually both of them, but no other place that one could be to get him out.
The Colorado one was very impressive.
Just because of the sheer distance.
Right.
Yeah.
And on the money.
This one was prettier because of the trajectory and how low it was.
And it didn't hit the ground.
No.
On the corner, strike 3. Kenta Maeda with back-to-back Ks to finish this 5th inning. Only one base hit for the Blue Jays, and Maeda now with 5 punch-outs, looking sharp against this potent offense. None more impressive than this one. A couple of weeks ago at Coors Field to get Trevor Story trying to turn a double into a triple. This is against San Diego. And then this was on the only base hit of the night for Toronto, throwing out Barney, trying to turn the single into a double. And I love Kenta's reaction. Mouth half open. Some applause. Thank you, Yasiel.
I think our mouths were half open up here too. He threw that, maybe not the applause, but that was like, wow.
You've heard me say sometimes it's easier to pitch at the big league level than it is at the minor league level because of the defense you get.
Ball on a strike on Chase Utley. It was Cade both times against Stroman tonight. But a pitcher's duel we've got going on. No runs on 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs on 1 hit for the Blue Jays. Out of the 3 hits for LA, just Justin Turner's has left the infield. Infield hits for Kendrick and for Crawford.
I would bet one of the Dodgers, when they hit the bench coming in from defense, said, come on, guys, this guy is pitching his bleep off. Let's get him some runs.
What just happened there?
I wonder if he hit the glove.
I think Russell Martin.
Russell Martin. Yeah.
Little practice swing.
And then he dropped the bat.
Inside, 3-1 on Chase Utley.
When you have a pitcher on the mound like Stroman that has such great movement, you want to get as close as you can to the hitter as a catcher, because if he goes deeper in the catcher's box and moves the umpire back, that movement will take the ball off the plate. So the ball could actually be near the plate or look like a strike, and all of a sudden you catch it so far back, all of a sudden the umpire's read is, oh, that ball's wide, or that ball's down, or that ball's up.
Leadoff walk for Utley. Sometimes such thing as too much movement.
Well, no, but because the movement really only counts right where the hitter's about to read the ball and then as it travels into the hitting area. But you don't want to be so deep that that continued pattern of movement now fools the umpire of where you end up catching it.
Bounces one to second. Barney goes to second one, and it's a double play.
Well, there's the benefit of that movement we were talking about, because one, you can get a leadoff walk, and the Dodgers are thinking, as you just mentioned, we got to get Kenta some runs here. He's pitching such a great game. You get the leadoff runner on base, you're like, this is a good start. We got to figure out how to produce that run. Well, with the movement that Stroman has, induce that double play, the pitcher's best friend, and they turned it nicely.
That is just a heavy sinker, just so heavy. He can spin the ball.
Hasn't lost a game since September 15th of 2014 against Baltimore.
It's got to feel like a brick when it's hitting the bat.
Turner gets time. Stroman really getting in a groove here. He struck out 7. Dodgers don't have a hit since the 3rd. Neither team with a run. And a defensive swing, still 1-2. Turner with a little jam shot, sinking into right for his 2nd hit of the day.
Good job by Justin Turner. There are times when you see a guy up there like Stroman and you're thinking about all that movement. If I maybe with the sinker stay inside of the ball, because there are times when you pull off of it, you foul it off your shin because it's coming into you, and then you're thinking, okay, well, he spins it away. I still want to stay inside of it. I want to pull off of it, stay on it to give yourself a chance. And that was the breaking ball that he stayed on and went the other way.
Now ball on to Adrian Gonzalez. So the Dodgers 4 hits now, 2 infield singles, and then 2 base hits for Justin Turner. 1 into center, 1 into right. Gonzalez is grounded to second both times. Waits on this 1-0 from Stroman. And strokes a bouncing ball, base hit into left center. Turner holds on at second with Pilar possessing a good arm. And back-to-back 2-out singles for Los Angeles brings up Puig.
Well, now that Corey Seager double play really stings. Because they've really, Stroman set the table with the walk. Corey hits the double play ball, but then back-to-back hits right here. You got to rally, but you need a 2-out hit now again.
So Gonzalez had pulled a pair of ground balls to second in his first 2 trips up, then singled to the opposite field. Puig has pulled a pair of ground balls to short. And then bounces the first offering foul. So these are the spots that have hurt the Dodgers lately. It's not been a matter of getting guys on and in scoring position. It's been bringing them in. They were 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position in the finale in St. Pete on Wednesday. And going back to the homestand, hitting .117 with men in scoring position over the last week and a half. Stroman to Puig with an 0-1. Down and away. Martin throwing back to second. Turner in easily. Chance for the Dodgers to break this scoreless tie in the 6th. Yasiel Puig with a big bouncer to short. And they go the short way. Puig has bounced to short all 3 times. Back-to-back 2-out hits against Stroman, but the Dodgers don't score, and still no score. Toronto, and it's now time for our greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Here's Alana Rizzo.
Well, Joe, when in Canada, let's talk about the Canadian-born Major League Baseball players. 244 all-time on opening day rosters this year. There were 9 active players. 17 Dodgers are Canadian-born. Here are the most recent 5. Of course, Russell Martin playing in this game, and he talked front office for the Dodgers. Well, both Farhan Zaidi, the GM, was born in Sudbury, Ontario, and VP of Baseball Ops Alex Anthopoulos was born in Montreal, Quebec. Guys.
All right, so some Canadian connections through history in the Dodgers, and on this current edition as well, as Maeda pours in a strike to Michael Saunders. So we go through this Blue Jays lineup for a 3rd time. A lot of Canadian connections, not just with the obvious ones, with the Blue Jays being in Toronto, but a lot of Canadian-born players on this roster. Saunders, one of them, 29-year-old, grew up rooting for the Blue Jays, dreaming of playing for the Blue Jays, and was traded here prior to last year to make that dream come true. And he's staying healthy this year, having a career year thus far. It was after a knee injury last year during spring training. First week he was there, tore his meniscus stepping on a sprinkler head while shagging fly balls on one of the backfields. Came back, played in a handful of games, but just wasn't right. That was after an oblique injury in 2014, a shoulder injury the year before, a groin injury the year before that. And all good so far this year for Saunders. Maeda brings him a 1-2. Able to check his swing.
Talked about the extra rest for Kenta Maeda. You get 7 days rest like he did over in Japan. Only 81 pitches. To see if some of that rest pays off, because his stats changed the third time through the order. First 2 times through the order, there's a low in an inning of 0.63. That's the first inning, and then the high up until the 6th inning is 2.11. But once you get past the 5th inning for Kenta Maeda, that's when the batting averages against jump. So you see his guys start to get a read on him, and we're going to see this also as the league gets to see him a second time when they face him.
And he gets Saunders to begin the 6th. Good start to bucking that trend. Saw your Dodger retired numbers pin series collection Monday, May 9th. Boys in blue take on the Mets. First pin is #1 Pee Wee Reese, courtesy of 76. Go to Dodgers.com/promotions. That is strikeout number 6 tonight for Kenta Maeda. And again, into the heart of this order with Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion, as potent of a 2 through 4 as there is in the game. Donaldson 0 for 1 tonight. Walked on 4 pitches his first time and grounded out to short. Kenta has been particularly careful with Donaldson tonight for good reason.
And when he walked him in his first at bat, tried to pitch him in a couple times, lost the ball up and in, but I don't think to a guy with Donaldson's ability that you really feel like you lose balls up and in. Is like you just make sure you don't make mistakes on the inner half of the plate.
Going away again on 2-0, and he made a mistake, but it was a big enough mistake where it was in.
See Donaldson move in that bat. He moved up in the box right before the pitch came. But Donaldson will try to make an adjustments in the middle of that bat. Watch what Donaldson. See that? Wow. Say went up there.
It's the MVP right there. 3-1.
He did it again.
He might overthunk that one. That was a very hittable pitch, but he doesn't look ready to be on it. Just kind of.
Outside corner for a strike. Donaldson was on his way to first, and now has to come back after embarrassing the home plate umpire Marvin Hudson.
Strike from strike zone. And Kenta, with his breaking ball tonight, has really kind of earned that. He hadn't earned the call on a borderline pitch with a fastball, but the breaking balls have all been where he's wanted them.
Donaldson lays off this one and gets what he thought he already had. His second walk of the day. 4th one issued by Maeda. And a 1-out base runner in front of Jose Bautista.
See what Kenta does here. Let's not forget last time Donaldson got on by walking. First pitch he had a walking lead and stole second.
I could see the bench reminding Yasmani of that and calling for a pickoff right here.
Oops.
I think Josh Donaldson also expected it too.
Yeah. You just know as the coaching staff reviews the game, and as the players get engulfed in competing, you got to remind them of patterns.
Bautista has popped out on the infield twice. The thing you worry about here is being so concerned with Donaldson at first that you take your attention off of this guy. He's hit more home runs than anybody in baseball over the last 6 years. Gonzalez playing in front of him.
Oh, and Donaldson over there at first. There are times when you have a guy who has this much power as in Jose Bautista. You go, okay, you were able to sneak in and get a stolen base the last time you're out there, but then you're also going, okay, well, I'm also in scoring position with a big bat like this, so you don't want to risk running into an out.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are down in the bottom of the American League as far as stolen bases this year, and it's because of that whole concept that you get on base, you're in scoring position with as much power as this lineup has. Oh, score, bottom of the 6th. Donaldson at first with one away. And Maeda to Bautista with a 2-1.
That's the best fastball pitch that Kenta's made all night. 2-1 count, game on the line, 0-0. And you come with a 2-seamer in there and you throw it for a strike, but it's perfect. That ball's too far in. He's 3-1. Now he's in bigger trouble. That ball's left over the middle of the plate. The Bautista swinging the bat. He'll probably plant it in the left field bleachers.
See what he goes to here on 2-2.
I think Kenta Maeda stepped off the mound before that last pitch. Not because he was worried about Donaldson. I don't think he liked the call from Grandal where he wanted to go and change it up. So
they call fastball up, and then after stepping off comes back with slider down. This is the most we've seen Kenta grind through a lineup. He really studied these guys and realized how much potential they have.
On 3-2, a high drive and a no-doubt shot that breaks the scoreless tie.
It's a very dangerous lineup because of this. They all have power, and they make you pay in a big way for mistakes. And Kenta will tell you that is not where he wanted to throw it.
Ball one to Edwin Encarnacion after the 6th home run of the season for Jose Bautista. The first runs allowed by Maeda on the road. 1-1.
And now Kenta has to regroup. Because you can't just say, okay, give that up, oh darn, and then you have Edwin Encarnacion, who also has a lot of power as well and can hit him out of the park.
Foul ground. Will Gonzalez have room? Will. So he bounces back to get the cleanup man Encarnacion for the 2nd out of the 6th. That brings up Justin Smoke. 99th pitch of the night forthcoming here for Kenta, who had not given up a run on the road And a Dodger uniform prior to that swing from Bautista. That included a start at Coors Field where he took a no-hitter into the 6th inning. 2 of the 5 best hitters parks as far as runs per game in the majors. Smoke 0 for 1, a walk and a fly out. One ball and 1 strike. Double-barreled action down in the Dodger bullpen. It's Lewis Coleman on the left. That's Adam Liberatore on the right. Maeda 100 pitches deep into this outing. It is 1-1 to Justin Smoke. Sharp break, 1-2.
It's gut-wrenching to pitch so well and then all of a sudden be down 2-0. 24 pitches here in the 6th inning. You just got to get your team in the dugout and hopefully they pick you up.
He gets Smoke with a fastball, and that's the inning. Maeda's been splendid again, but 1 swing the difference right now. Bautista's 2-run homer has Toronto in front, 2-0.
Last from Joey Bats here at the top of the 7th inning. And as far as the long ball is concerned, guys, 2 very different stories as far as these 2 clubs are concerned. Last year, the Dodgers led the National League in home runs with 187. You can see their Major League Baseball rank. The Blue Jays first in the AL. This season, though, not so much as far as going yard. Dodgers just 20 home runs. You can see where they're ranked almost last in Major League Baseball. The Blue Jays, and the numbers are updated, tied for 7th.
Yasmani Grandal fouls off the first one, strike 1. And the Dodgers, with those 20, only Atlanta has hit fewer, and the Braves have only hit 6. How in the world are we 30 games into the season and the team has 6 home runs?
I can't tell you, other than it's not a real good lineup.
And not a real good hitter's park, but still.
You got to run into a few more than that.
I know. I mean, you got Freddie Freeman. Nick Markakis, who's always a good power guy in Baltimore. I know the ball flies particularly well there, but you think there'd be some more power than they've seen as Goins gets Grandal. As far as the Dodgers and the difference between last year and this year, at this point last year, Gonzalez and Peterson both had 9 home runs. This year, Gonzalez has 3. Peterson has 4. Grandal had 4 at this time last year. He has 1 right now. Justin Turner without a homer at this point. He had 4 right now. And then Ethier and Guerrero had combined for 10 at this point. Both those guys on the disabled list. 0-1 to Howie Kendrick. 1 ball, 1 strike.
If you go to both leagues' individual home run totals for the league leaders, the Atlanta Braves wouldn't even be in the top 10 in either.
That's
league.
amazing.
You have to have 7 home runs in both leagues to be in the top 10.
As an individual.
As an individual.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it anywhere, but I've got to imagine that the 6 home runs through 30 games or whatever it is exactly for the Braves has to be historically bad. They're going back to the dead ball era.
Are you talking 36 home runs for the whole year? If they stay on the pace.
No. Well, Marcus Stroman with another punch out. He's got 8 now, which is 1 short of matching the career high that he set on Sunday.
We talked about it. How will he be? How will the Dodgers adjust? The 3rd time seeing him, and he's been as equally as tough as the first 2 times they faced him.
When you can have more than 2 pitches working as a pitcher, you can get through the order 3 and 4 times. As you hitters adjust back, he's got more weapons to go to. That's why I think in general you see it's not always about a guy fatiguing the 3rd time through the order as much as he's run out of mysteries. You guys know when to start. You know how it breaks. You know what he's got tonight.
Well, what he's done well is there are times you're going, okay, I'm going to swing early because he's showing that he has a put-away pitch. Striking out. Swing early. Don't get behind. All right. Well, then when you swing early, you're going, well, I put that in play, and with the movement, I'm hitting it right in the ground. And then your thought is, well, maybe let's not swing early. Let's make sure, let's really battle him. He's making us hit in the ground. Let's make him get it up in the zone. Well, then when you don't swing early, he's getting strikes down in the zone, so you're falling behind. So he's done a really good job all around.
Dodgers 4 hits against him, all singles. Jock Peterson makes it 5 into the left center field gap. Pillar's over to cut it off. Peterson on his way to second. First extra base hit of the night for LA. And a 2-out runner in scoring position.
Jock stays on this ball a long time.
We talked about how before the game Stroman, we talked about all the spin, but he also, even his misses are usually down in the zone. This is one of the very few we've seen today where he's missed up in the zone, and Jock took advantage with a nice swing.
And it brings up Carl Crawford with 2 gone. Tying run at the plate for the Dodgers. 7th inning. Crawford looks at ball 1. He's 1 for 2 today. Infield single and a ground out. Still looking for his first home run of the year. In a park here where the ball flies well. Shot into left center. Pilar on the move. Not going to get there. Back-to-back doubles for the Dodgers. Carl Crawford with an RBI 2-bagger to get LA on the board in the 7th. Peterson in to score. They string something together against Stroman here.
Really good job by both Jock Peterson and Carl Crawford staying inside the ball, going the other way, and especially after the Blue Jays take the lead, feeling the momentum back on their side, and then that shutdown inning for Stroman, and unable to do so by getting that at least 1 in this inning.
And the tying run in scoring position now at the top of the order for Chase Utley. Crawford with his 3rd run batted in this season. And now Chase looking at strike 1. Action down in the Toronto bullpen. Kevin Floyd is warming, and this year that has been a good thing for opposing offenses. Well, the starting rotation has been a nice surprise. Outside of Ozuna down in the closer's role, There have been problems for the Blue Jays in the pen. Stroman's 0-1. Down low, 1 ball and 1 strike. Nine losses for the Blue Jays bullpen. That's tied for the most in the majors. They acquired Drew Storen. He's got an ERA above 8. Brett Cecil was so good last year. He's not been good. 5 losses for him. Utley lines a base hit into center. Pilar picks it up off the roll. Crawford coming for the plate. He'll score the tying run. 3 consecutive 2-out hits for Los Angeles, and Chase Utley has tied it with an RBI single.
Well, this will inject some life into the bench and to Kenta Maeda and the Dodger bullpen getting ready to possibly come in. Chase Utley just drives this right back up the middle. Outstanding piece of hitting, and again, Nomar, as Stroman has elevated and made some mistakes, the Dodgers have made him pay.
3 good approaches back to back to back by the Dodger hitters. You wonder if there's some signs, small signs of fatigue from Stroman out of those couple of mistakes up in the zone we've seen so far this inning, because we have not seen 2 mistakes in any inning from Stroman thus far.
He had struck out 8. He retired the first 2 men of this inning, getting Howie Kendrick with his 8th strikeout, and then he had Jock Peterson down 0-2 before Peterson battled back, ran it full. Doubled into left center. Crawford followed with a double of his own. And Utley's RBI single has tied it at 2. 100 pitches into the outing now for Stroman. Is 1-0. Bounces to Seager.
Stroman is also one of those rare guys that the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th time you see him going through the order, average goes down. Kind of proves that as he gets locked in, he's one of those guys that you better get him early kind of guy, because once they get locked in with all those pitches, they are going to stay on top of you and shut you down. But the Dodgers have turned that equation around.
He is a guy that feeds off his confidence and his energy, and he pumps a 2-1. He missed but got a strike. 2-2. Corey Seager 0 for 2 tonight with a walk. Batting with Utley at first. 2 gone and a tie game in the 7th. Full count. That means a go-ahead run will get moving from first. After Stroman retired the first 2, Peterson, Crawford, and Utley, 3 consecutive hits, and now Seager fouls it off. Not only have they tied the game, but they've run that pitch count up some and potentially worked their way into the Toronto bullpen. 105 pitches thrown by Stroman. Utley takes off on 3-2, and Seager bounces one to short. Goins has to go to first, and the inning is over. But the Dodgers have tied the game at 2. Moments after the Bautista homer, Peterson, Crawford, and Utley string them together to tie the game. Dodgers 3 consecutive 2-out hits against Marcus Stroman to tie the game at 2 here in the 7th. Kevin Pillar leads off the inning against a new Dodger pitcher. Lewis Coleman slings in a fastball for strike 1. Stroman is an emotional, high-energy guy, showing those emotions coming off in what is likely his final inning. 1-1 on Pillar. Well, Coleman takes over for Maeda, who was really good through his 6 innings tonight. Gave up the 2-run shot to Bautista, but that's all. And Lewis Coleman finds himself working into a more significant role in this ever-evolving bullpen.
Since he got back from bereavement, his grandfather passed away, and he was very close to him. He talked very fondly yesterday about his grandfather and his relationship the grandfather had with his dad, and then the one he had with his grandfather, and how close they were. Both his dad and his grandfather, very tough men, and really kind of formed Lewis to being a tough guy and really being focused on what to do, and there wasn't a lot of slack in his upbringing. But he appreciates both men, and especially his grandfather, because his grandfather gave a little bit more of a loving side, even as tough as he was, than his dad.
Small town Greenwood, Mississippi.
And when Lewis was first drafted, I was sitting talking with him last night, and he was baling hay in high school. He said, I knew the draft had started a day or two prior, but I wasn't really paying much attention. He was drafted in the 28th round, and his phone was ringing, and he just kept putting it on mute and pushing it away. Didn't even take the call. Finally called the guy back, the scout back, like a day later. Said, I've got this strange number. I guess I'll call him back, find out what it's about. He was drafted.
Wow.
But then he went to LSU, and he was drafted again his junior year. He knew a little bit more about that, and then
he
went back to school.
answered the phone.
Yeah, and then but he went back to school, and then he didn't sign until after his senior year.
He gets Pillar to pop one into left. Carl Crawford and Corey Seager. It's Seager doing a nice job to run under it, make the play for the first out. Don't miss the highly anticipated annual Freeway Series driven by Lexus. Dodgers and Angels at Dodger Stadium May 16th and 17th. Dodgers.com/tickets.
I asked Lewis, did you always throw from down under? And he said, I've thrown from 5 different arm angles. He's been up top, over the top. He's been all the way down where Dan Quisenberry is, all the way down to land down under, and finally settled where he is right here.
In between.
Yeah, up top he was 92, 94. Way down low, his velocity dropped down to about 85. And then as he crept his arm up and up, he found the place where there was movement and velocity. But he says he pitches best right around that 88 to 90 mile an hour mark. You can see he's not low 3/4. He's below that, but he's not submarine either. He's kind of a thrasher.
1-1 to Russell. Martin slides in there for a strike, and it's just such a unique look.
And that's when we talked about before the season started about the bullpen. Would Lewis Coleman make the roster? And I said I like it because it gives the hitters a different look.
Well, he needed to have a good spring training to make this team, because if he doesn't impressive enough to make the team, he's probably going to be let go because he doesn't have any options to go to the minors because of being the veteran that he is. So that he wouldn't be in a Dodger uniform if he wouldn't have had a good spring.
It's ready for a 2-2 to Martin.
And what a nice guy. I mean,
that he is.
You'd want him to be a mentor to your son or your daughter. You'd want him to be your friend. You'd want to go to dinner with him. He's a solid guy.
Martin with a dribbler up along third. Turner hoping it stays foul, and it does.
It's kind of funny on Twitter. Going to the pub with me got more play than fishing or hanging from the needle. It's like, yeah, I like your choice of what to do on a off day.
Somebody tweeted and said, man, I would love to go to a pub with you guys.
Tried a little, what do they call it when you get like 4 or 5 beers?
Flights?
A flight.
Flights.
I had a flight of lager.
Really?
Yeah.
Now you're going to get more people seeing.
The local,
I really want to go with you to the pub.
I really like the local lager was the first of the 5, and that was my favorite. It was very good.
Orioles paying everybody, so why don't you come on out?
Next off day on the road.
I don't think it would be a big bill here if I mentioned the place we went, but I'm not gonna. I can just tell you it has a nice view of the water.
Martin pulls it sharply to right at Seager. 2 up. 2 down for Lewis Coleman in a tie game in the 7th.
You know, when Lewis was having a tough time prior to the bereavement leave, when he was kind of getting hit around, he was just kind of coming underneath the ball a little bit and kind of elevating it. He has done a nice job with his hand, getting good discipline to get that downward movement with the slider and the sinker.
Dave Roberts going out there. Coleman was on with back-to-back right-handers to start this inning. He retired them both. Roberts will call back out there for a left-handed pitcher. It looks like Adam Liberatore coming in to face the left-handed hitting Ryan Goins. Tied at 2 in Toronto. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. Happy 85th birthday, Willie Mays, today. One of the all-time greats. This guy, Kike Hernandez. Oh, jeez. In a 2-2 game, Adam Liberatore comes in. After Coleman got Pilar and Martin, Liberatore's on there to face the left-handed batting Ryan Goins. And Adam Liberatore, who started the season in AAA Oklahoma City, has been awesome since his call-up. Strike 1.
He's attacking again in spring training. Adam was kind of trying to really throw right to the edges of the plate and was missing. He wasn't quite ready for that philosophy of pitching, but now that he's in shape and locked in, boy, he is back to attacking the strike zone.
Missed with that one. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's amazing with Adam how much different it is when he has just that confidence. When he just believes in his stuff and recognizes that I have good stuff.
I think a little bit of competing to try and make the roster in spring training might have got to him.
The hits Goins.
I think we jinxed him about attacking.
He attacked, but
wrong spot. That one really missed. I mean, you see Yasmani, he was set up on the outer part of the plate.
And so now Darwin Barney out of the 9th spot. It was 1 for 2 today. One of the 2 hits for this Toronto offense. His was a single down the right field line. The other one, a Jose Bautista 2-run homer in the bottom of the 6th inning. Ball 1 to Barney. Playing in his 15th game this year. Making the start at second with Goins at short. Tulowitzki getting the night off, at least out of the starting lineup. So remember, Tulowitzki is available for the Blue Jays off of the bench. Grandal setting inside. Liberatore having one fouled off. It's 1-1.
You know, we talked about Joey Bats and how he used to just kind of try and put it in play. And we've seen Darwin Barney now. I think he's taken a little advice from some of these guys here in Toronto that really let the bat go. You know, Darwin was more of a protector and a placer, and I'm going to try and do this with it. Now he's not steering the bat anymore. He's letting it go.
When you get in the lineup and you see all these guys taking big swings, especially even in batting practice, you start getting a little feel from them. And as you're picking their brain, absolutely.
Jam shot, short right. Puig's got to play it on a bounce. Goins holds it second because of that reputation at ACL. First and second with 2 gone, and it's back to the top of the order for the Blue Jays.
Dodgers made a 2-out rally pay off with their 3 hits in a row. Now you've got to eliminate the walk, now the base hit, and stop the Blue Jays. Barney with a good piece of hitting, some great bat speed, but got his hands inside it and pushed it out there to right field. Looks like a much different hitter than when we saw him in a Dodger uniform.
Rick Honeycutt coming out to talk with Liberatore. Visits are timed this season. He's got about 15 seconds left to deliver his message.
It's almost like you need to have a rehearsal in your head about what you're going to say, because you don't want to go out there and just be searching for words or trying to just calm them down with nothing to say.
So Liberatore came on for Coleman, who got Pilar to pop out. Martin to ground out. Liberatore hit Goins. Barney with his single. Joe Blanton, who has turned into the 8th inning guy for this team, is warming. But Dave Roberts will leave Liberatore in with the left-handed Michael Saunders at the plate 0 for 3 tonight. 2 on, 2 out in the 7th. Strike 1 to Saunders.
Lefty on lefty, you have to be careful here, but I'll tell you what, Michael Saunders has done well since moving in that leadoff spot, but also in the 7th inning or later. He's batting near 400, 385. Getting on base over 400. So he really seems to buckle down late in the innings, and this is going to be a battle right here. This is big for Adam Liberatore to come out here and try to put him away.
Chested down by Grandal.
Yasmani with a couple of pass balls before the off day, and he was really upset with himself and actually hurting too. That was a very nice block.
Liberatore and a jam in the 7th. As the Blue Jays try to retake the lead after the Dodgers tied it with 3 consecutive 2-out hits in the top of this inning. Here comes the 1-1. Saunders fouls it off 1-2. Saunders 0 for 3 tonight with a pair of strikeouts, and on this homestand 3 for 14 with 10 strikeouts. Owens the runner at second, Barney the runner at first, both good speed. The always intense Adam Liberatore readies for this 1-2. Softly hit up along first. Gonzalez has it. It's a foul ball. And the Blue Jays catch a break.
Adrian was making a great attempt at a very smart play to try and get to that ball before it goes foul and time it with the batter runner.
Well, he was playing, first of all, playing deep because he wants to get as much range as he can, and having that foot on the base, he thought he had it.
It's a lot to coordinate there.
It really is. You're thinking, okay, I want to get that, because you're paying attention to the runner. How well did he get out of the box? Is he going to beat the ball that's slowly hit? And then you recognize that, okay, I should get the ball because now we have a chance of getting out. Now you're playing with the foul line. Now I want to keep my foot on the bag without taking my eye off the ball.
2 on and 2 out in a 2-2 game in the 7th. Liberatore to Saunders with a 1-2. Overthrows it. And the runners move up to second and third.
The ball is just wide. You don't want to make a mistake and hang it. So then maybe right at the end you give it a little extra jerk and you jerk it right by your catcher.
First base open now. But Donaldson on deck. Drama here in the 7th. 2-2. Laid off an enticing fastball, and the count goes full.
It should be a pitcher's pitch no matter what. Right for the edges or something that looks like a strike ends up a ball with first base open. A right-hander behind you. And I know you'd rather not face Josh Donaldson, but you'd rather also not lose the game by giving in.
So they're loaded for the MVP. So all 3 batters that Liberatore faces reach. He hits Goins, Barney singles, Saunders walks, and the MVP chants begin as Liberatore leaves and Blanton comes on to face Donaldson with the bases loaded in a tie game in the 7th. a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles, we treat kids better. From career starter to released in 2013 to retired in 2014 to the bullpen last year, and now into the setup role for the Dodgers in the highest leverage situation you can find. Bases loaded in a tie game against the MVP, Josh Donaldson. Goins at third, Barney at second, Saunders at first, and Blanton's first one popped up. Will Gonzalez have room? One pitch for Blanton to get out of the bases loaded jam. And we go to the eighth with a sigh of relief. Loaded jam in the bottom of the set.
Well, you had the fans on their feet. They're excited. The reigning MVP with the bases loaded, the game on the line, and he gets them to pop up. Adrian sees it easily, especially a high pop up here with the high dome, and Tampa might have hit one of the rings, but not here, as we have a look at our friends at Morongo slow-mo cam.
Lewis Coleman, who got the first 2 outs of that inning. Adam Liberatore was behind him. You saw at the end of that replay, had loaded the bases with the 3 batters that he faced. Blanton came on and bailed him out. Gavin Floyd enters the game and gets Justin Turner to offer at a sharp breaking pitch for strike 1. Floyd, the journeyman, the veteran, former starter, 33 years old, is now a relief pitcher and having a good season for Toronto. Turner cracks one on the ground, is short for Goins. 1 gone. Check in with Alana Rizzo.
Guys, that ball in Tampa Bay, likely a dead ball. When Joe Blanton was walking off the field, he was kind of waiting for Adrian Gonzalez to come into the dugout as well, and he was smiling, and he looked at him and he pointed up and he said, I thought that ball was over here, and he basically pointed into the seats over further by the first base bag. He had no idea where that ball went.
Went so high that here in the booth we couldn't see it. Kind of got cut off by an overhang. Strike 1 to Adrian Gonzalez. First thing that I noticed when I walked in here today was how high that roof is. I mean, it is majestically big.
And it's a different feel when it's actually open, too. And then you see the sky. You get peek up at the needle as well. We'll see if there's a possibility of being open tomorrow.
And it's the right color to pick up a baseball.
Yep. Yeah, that's also one thing coming from Tampa to here as you're playing, you know, okay, I can possibly run to a spot and then pick the ball up again.
Here's a 2-1 to Adrian. Left it over the plate, had some late tail to it, and he fouled it off. 2-2. The ceiling in Tampa Bay is same color as a muddy ball.
Yeah, same color as a nice rubbed up baseball. It's kind of white with gray and all around it. Tough. Can't take your eye off the ball when it goes up.
Gonzalez sends one sky high to right center. Bautista and Pilar. It's Bautista taking charge, and Pilar still taking the catch. Bautista had put his hand up to say it's mine, and the center fielder, who has priority, took charge and made the play.
Well, you see Bautista, I don't know if there was any communication there. Well, there's Pilar. It looks like he's calling it. We can't hear from here whether if it was loud enough. So we've always say that center fielder, if you hear him calling it, get out of his way.
We know from earlier that Bautista's voice carries pretty well too. Puig misses that one by 3 feet. Strike one.
We're under the dome, so Pilar was probably using his inside voice, and he's using his outside voice.
True.
You know, how you correct your children?
No.
No. Well, your child is on the way.
Yeah. Grounded out to short all 3 times tonight. That was all against Marcus Stroman, who has finished after 7 innings, allowing 2 runs on 8 hits. Puig gets a fly ball to left center. It's Saunders completing a 1-2-3 inning. Bottom of the 8th inning coming up, tied at 2 in the series opener. Starting this stretch of 20 consecutive days without an off day. That includes his set this weekend with back-to-back daytime starts here in Toronto. That means morning starts in LA. And then their trip back to California. And a 4-game set with the Mets beginning on Monday. Joe Blanda, Jose Bautista to take strike one after showing bunt. It was Bautista that homered back in the 6th against Maeda for the Blue Jays runs today. You have the overshift on, the right-handed hitter. It takes upstairs, and it's 1-1.
20 days in a row can tax a bullpen, especially if you get an early knockout of a starter or if you get a long extra inning game. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened during this 20-game stretch, that there would be some player personnel moves to refresh the bullpen, not strictly on a guy is doing poorly, but just a need for an arm or a fresh arm.
Bautista cracks a high drive to center. Peterson on the warning track, has room, one away.
Fans here were rooting with their heart.
They right off the bat they were cheering loud, thinking that he might have gotten it. Well, they've seen it an awful lot where even some of his miss hits go out for him.
Sounded good.
It sounded really good, but then you looked at Jock Peterson out there and it looked like he had a read on it all the way, and just a loud and long out.
Out of the frying pan and into the fire from Bautista at Encarnacion. Only Chris Davis has hit more home runs than Encarnacion over the last 4 years. You go back 2 more years, and in that span, it's Bautista that leads the majors in home runs. Encarnacion is 0 for 3 tonight. After that 3-hit, 6 RBI performance in the series finale against Texas last night. Blanton brings a 1-1. And it's 2-1. You know, it's nice that Blant has started to emerge into this 8th inning role, but one thing you do lose, you're talking about this 20-day stretch, you lose the ability to consistently utilize his length.
He's a guy that also can pitch on multiple days, but you lose his possible 3 or 4 innings. And his endurance wouldn't be quite what it was coming out of spring training, because he really hasn't had those innings to. He's had the reps, but he hasn't had the length of an outing to keep that. It's going to be a very interesting time to watch our bullpen.
Encarnacion towards the left center field gap. That is extra bases. And it's a ground rule double for Encarnacion.
See that breaking ball just kind of backed up over the middle of the plate. You saw Yasmani looking for that breaking ball away. Started off in the good spot, and it looked like it might have broke over there, but it didn't. That's one of those, they were just spinning right where it started, and Encarnacion did not miss it.
They will send a pinch runner in for Encarnacion. Ezekiel Carrera representing the go-ahead run here in the 8th inning.
Dave Roberts taking the decision right out of Joe Blanton's hand and deciding to intentionally walk Smoke here. I was looking down at my score sheet thinking, you know, this is a time where a veteran pitcher will kind of pick where he wants to get his outs and who he wants to give into or who he wants to pitch around. But Dave Roberts making the decision for Joe Blanton once, setting up the double play and avoid this left-handed bat.
So they avoid the left-handed bat, but they get Kevin Pillar, who has been red hot over the last few weeks. First and second, one gone, tied at 2 in the 8th. And here comes Pillar. While he's 0 for 3 tonight, he's hitting close to 400 since they dropped him out of the leadoff spot mid-April.
Free swinger that makes a lot of contact. Right here, Joe Blanton for looking for some contact that's on the ground. Never a big fan of double play depth right here, where you can lose the game in the 8th and 9th inning with only a possibility of 1-run beating you. I always liked my infielders to play as deep as possible and still possibly get a double play. And even if it doesn't get a double play, it's okay. You saved me the game.
And that's got to be communicated then before, or understanding what the pitcher likes. Would you often, you call them in and maybe tell them, hey, listen, I know they want you double play, but play a little bit deeper. I don't mind if you don't get the double play, but I don't want to make sure that you score the run, because that's also letting the infielders know if you believe that I can get the next guy, or you believe you get the next guy.
Looking at this part of the order going,
right.
I can find some outs,
right.
Single outs. I don't need a double play and worry about who's coming up.
Other than 2 on Pilar.
It'd be a little different if it was Josh Donaldson up there and I got Batista and Encarnacion behind him. I'm like, I want to go for the double play.
Right.
You know, this could turn out to be a terrible inning. But I'm near the bottom of the order, and that's some guys I have confidence against that I can get out. I don't mind getting them out one soldier at a time.
Blue Jays hitless in these situations tonight. 1 year after leading the majors with runners in scoring position. This year, the bottom 5 in the majors. Double from Encarnacion. Carrera pinch running for him at second. Intentional pass to Justin Smoke. And Bland ahead of Pilar 0-2. A free swinger, but tough to strike out. Maeda got him tonight in his first at bat and snapped a string of 31 consecutive plate appearances without a K for Pilar.
Joe Blanton's got to fight the urge to really throw the best slider, the best curveball in his life, because those are the ones that can end up hanging. I think that's what Kenta Maeda did against Batista.
That ball's golf to left. Back on it is Crawford. It's gone. And so is the lead in the 8th inning.
I said wow to myself, not because that they gave up the lead, but that ball was hit on an absolute line and a rocket. A line drive that cleared the fence. That was extremely hard in middle half of the plate. Did not miss. Able to turn on that.
He hit a good pitch. There's a down and in sinker. The bottom didn't drop out of it, but it had good location. You expect a ball like that to maybe get hit on the ground, but he got underneath it and ripped it.
Ball 1 to Russell Martin. And so the decision to put Smoke on comes back to bite the Dodgers with a 3-run homer from Pilar, breaking a 2-2 tie. His second of the season. 1-1 on Martin. Joe Blanton had only given up 1 run this season prior to that swing, and it came all the way back on April 8th. Puig on the move, won't get there, and it's 2-2. And a 3-run shot from Kevin Pilar, giving the Blue Jays a 5-2 lead.
Off day for the Dodgers yesterday, but Blue Jays played and scored 12. Their bats were looking like they were starting to wake up. Maeda silenced them for a while, and it was a tough game, but right here they woke up late with 2 big home runs.
Martin shoots one the other way. Puig will run it down and bring us to the 9th inning. Or give us our second out, beg your pardon. A double, a walk, and a homer against Blanton. And Ryan Goins to the plate. All 5 runs for the Blue Jays tonight, coming off of home runs. This offense starting to pick up again after a slow start. Historically good last year. They're getting hot again right now, trying to win their 4th consecutive game. It'd be the first time the Blue Jays had done that. Back-to-back walk-off wins, and the 12-2 win last night. And now a 5-2 lead here in the 8th. Off of the handle. Puig's got it. And now we go to the 9th inning. But it's after Pilar hits a 3-run shot off Joe Blanton. 6, 7, and 8 due up for the Dodgers in the 9th. Instead of Ozuna, who is 6 for 6 in save situations, it's Drew Storen, who has an ERA above 8 here in a save situation in the 9th.
He's been giving it up. You see that ERA at 8.1. That's not what they expect from him, and maybe they're trying to boost his confidence a little bit and saying, you know, the abilities and the results have not shown that you deserve this role, but here we are. We're going to give it back to you right now and see if you can show us what you got.
Grandal, Kendrick, and Peterson due out for the Dodgers, trying to rally. And there's ball 1. Stolen in his first season in Toronto. And the bullpen overall has been miserable for the Blue Jays. Osuna's been really good. There have been other pieces that have been solid, but the key pieces outside of Ozuna and Brett Cecil and this guy Drew Storen have not been good. Does Martin have a hole in his glove?
He might.
Said it only half jokingly the way he's looking at it.
It looks like he's want to get a new glove.
The leather ripped.
Yep.
A lot of times it's not the glove, but the lacing.
See, you're joking, and it's
it was real. Cover looked kind of funny even on the one before that. So Storen has missed with the first 2. Is 2-0. Outside as well. 3 balls and no strikes. And Osuna, I'm looking down there in the Toronto bullpen, no sign of him warming. If things were to get hairy for Storen here. Grandal will take. Ball 4.
In some ways, it starts to make you speculate that maybe he was sick and they didn't want to say anything. Well, there's starting to be a little movement down there, but there somebody's getting up.
And John Gibbons has said he has to be careful with Osuna and how he warms him, because Osuna's a guy who really needs to get warmed up. He likes to get a sweat going before he comes into the game. So you've got to be sure if you're going to use him. And in this situation, he'd have to hurry up to get ready, which is interesting. 5 pitches and 5 balls from Drew Storen, which is not a huge surprise again. This is a guy that is being tossed into this save situation with an ERA above 8 here in his first year in Toronto. It's 1-1, and it's not Osuna that's warming down in the Blue Jays pen right now. It's Jesse Chavez.
That tells me there probably is an illness to Osuna that they don't let anybody know out of strategy. Storen's the kind of guy that, you know, he had 29 saves last year for the Nationals.
Yeah, it's not like it's a position that Drew Storen isn't familiar with. The numbers just aren't there for him this year.
Storen with a 1-2 to Howie Kendrick. Barely got a piece. MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service. Delivers everything you've come to expect and more. You can watch every out-of-market game. Visit MLB.TV for details. Kendrick can reach. Dodgers would bring the tying run to the plate here in the 9th inning. Jock Peterson is due next. Storen's 1-2. Breaking ball, line to center. Pilar is there.
Dodgers probably thinking, really, right at him. Storen taking a deep breath, going, wow, I'm glad it was at him.
Roberto Osuna, I guess, was warming for a short time during the 7th. We've got word that he did get up and at least begin warming in the 7th inning, which is another surprising piece of information. They've said this week that he's the only guy in the bullpen with a defined role, that being closer. Jock Peterson takes strike 1.
I guess he wasn't the only one with a defining role then.
Yeah, so I guess
because
nobody.
This was kind of a closing situation.
This is 100% a save situation. Storen trying to pitch through the early season struggles to get a save here in the 9th inning in the opener of this set. 1 ball and 1 strike on Peterson. He started the rally in the 7th with a double. Came in to score on Crawford's double. Crawford would score on Utley's single. That tied it at 2 before Pilar's 3-run shot against Blanton in the 8th. Breaking ball popped to short left. Saunders is on and it drops in. And the Dodgers bring the tying run to the plate in the 9th inning.
Well, we hit one hard right at him, but then we bloop one in, so it's evening out. It's quite an accomplishment to get the tying run to the plate.
Similar to what the Dodgers did in the finale against Tampa Bay a couple of nights ago, where they're in that giant hole. Was it 10-2 at one point? And they rallied to, I think, a 10-5. And here they come again in the 9th inning. Carl Crawford set to bat. Wouldn't this be a nice time for CC's first home run of the year? Tying run at the plate in the 9th inning. Strike 1.
Looking at Drew Storen right now, the way he's pitched, making a lot of mistakes. So there's definitely the potential for a home run right here to tie this game up if they can capitalize on a mistake.
He's allowed 3 of them this year in 10 innings. Bouncing ball to third. Donaldson throws to second. A juggle, and they'll say that the ball came out of the transfer. So the out at second counts, and they're at the corners with 2 out.
Well, Jock Peterson is wisely just staying on there, probably waiting to see word as they're going to look at this on the replay to see if it was on the exchange or if he just never had it. He did look like he caught it down there, and as he was bringing it to his hands, right there's the catch. Then he went to go get it out, and that's when it popped out.
Chad Fairchild, the umpire, right on it.
Interesting thing is, you see the Dodgers? The Dodgers are going to look at it to see if he caught it. And I bet you the Toronto Blue Jays are going to look to see if Jock, touched him with his hand or interfered that way to see if it's a potential ending double play.
Yeah, which we have seen over this first month and a half.
Because Jock goes in there, he's right on the bag. I mean, right now he's just kind of protecting himself right there with his hands up.
Yeah.
There wasn't an intent to grab him, but I guarantee that's what. Now you have Gibbons out.
And it was the Blue Jays earlier this year that lost a game in a similar situation down in Tampa Bay in the opening series of the year.
Wasn't it Jose Bautista who was sliding in, reached out and got his leg? And this one, I mean, this is more from a protection standpoint when you look at Jock slide in there, because Darwin Barney is right on the bag to make that play.
Well, Darwin Barney is not fully up on his feet, so to hit him above the knee, as the rule states that you can't hit anybody contact above the knee.
It's not even above the knee anymore. If you reach out and try to have a contact, because that's what Jose Bautista did in that first game. He just reached his hand out and hit like his ankle or his foot, and they called the double play, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous of a call.
And what would make this extra ridiculous is if they decided to make this a double play to end the game, because the ball coming out had nothing to do with Jock Peterson reaching and grabbing a hold of the leg. The ball was already out. There was no way they were turning the double play regardless of what happened.
I think if they're looking at New York and they realize instincts of somebody sliding and then making contact with a guy who's kind of falling into them, that you're going to protect your face.
Blue Jays lost a game on a play like this in Tampa Bay. Houston lost a game like this on a play against Milwaukee.
Out at second, safe at first.
So the call stands. Peterson is out. And they're at the corners with the Dodgers down to their final.
I'm sure a lot of those boos here, a lot of fans remembering that play.
So Drew Storen needs 1 out for the save. He's got Chase Utley coming to the plate now. Representing the tying run in the 9th inning. Randall's at third. He walked. Crawford's at first on the fielder's choice. Chase Utley, so many big hits for this club this year. Strike one. Crawford was off and moving with the pitch. Storen has been a closer before, as you guys mentioned, at 43 saves with Washington in 2011. Last year at 29 saves with Washington. Is 0-1. A little bit up. 1 ball, 1 strike. Only one home run this season. Facing a guy that he's faced plenty of times. The National League East. Storm with the Nationals. Utley with the Phillies. Here's a 1-1. He bunts third base side, and he will reach to keep the game going. Gutsy from Chase Utley. The base is loaded. Tying run aboard for the Dodgers. Go-ahead run at the plate in the form of Corey Seager.
You know, this bunt, Nomar, shows how much respect Chase has for Corey Seager hitting behind him.
And it's not the Dodgers. Are you looking, okay, am I hitting the home run? He actually took one chance for it. The first pitch was, okay, I got a chance at maybe hitting a home run, and he swung and he missed it. Now it's about, okay, I got to get on base because I'm not going for it. I can't go try it twice. I got to get on base. And he found a way because he knows he's the important runner. It's not the man at third. It's not the Carl Crawford over there. He's the one because he can tie the game.
Good move from needing a home run to now you need a double.
And a guy that can deliver. And Corey Seager. Base is loaded for the Dodgers. Down by 3. 2 gone in the 9th. And ball 1 from Storen.
With Storen's ERA at above 8 coming into this outing, getting an opportunity to save this game for the Blue Jays. Not pitching well in this uniform yet. This bases loaded 2 out puts a lot of pressure on him.
Is 1-0. Left over the plate, fly to left. Saunders is there, and that's going to do it. Kevin Pillar's 3-run home run wins it for the Blue Jays in the 8th inning. Dodgers leave the bases loaded against Storen in the 9th. And have now dropped 8 of 10. Time now for the Lexus play of the game. It is Pillar's 3-run laser shot over the left field wall. Dodgers decided to face Pillar instead of Smoak. And Pillar made Blanton pay with a home run that barely gets out. So Toronto's won 4 in a row for the first time this season, while the Dodgers have dropped back-to-back games. That does it for now from Toronto. For Earl Hershiser, Omar Garcia.